Durand, hello.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm great.
I'm so excited to talk to you about this film. I saw it yesterday and I absolutely loved it.
Awesome.
There's a risk, isn't there, in going into a franchise that's so well done, but this completely blew me away. And it's, I think, possibly even better than some of those.
Wow.
How does this build on the Caesar trilogy, and what can fans expect from this one?
We end up hundreds of years after the last movie. I don't want to say what happened in the last movie in case you haven't seen.
It's been like 7 years.
2017. Yeah, but I find that a lot of people are like, oh, this is coming out, I'm gonna catch up, and like a lot of my friends were like, I'm gonna go watch the trilogy. I'm like, you didn't watch the trilogy? Yeah, so then they watch it and they're like, oh my God, that's amazing. You know, I think it was like, I mean, I know it was definitely my favorite series of films, and it meant a lot to me, and I couldn't imagine how we would take off from where they left off. But then, that was my immediate reaction when they wanted me to audition. Then I was like, what an opportunity. So I worked my butt off, sent it off, and then I met with Wes, and he's pitching me the world. Meanwhile, while he's pitching it to me, I told him this last night, I was like, you had no idea that I was just like, dude, I'm freaking in. Like, I'm so in.
You don't need to sell it.
You don't need to sell anything to me. I'm so in. I wasn't necessarily intimidated because it felt like it was just a totally new, fresh start. And I felt so confident in Wes's vision. He's like this genius visionary. The way that he explained everything to me, I knew I was in great hands. And, you know, we did like I did 4 weeks of Ape school and really learned about the differences in anatomy, the way that the hip and the ribs are actually connected so there's no torsion, and all of these different aspects that make their bodies different that inform how you move. Once you get that together, we were like about 4 weeks in, and then Alain Gauthier, who's our movement coach, he asked me a question, and for the first time, Proximus spoke for the first time. And he kind of jumped back and he was like, wait a second.
Incredible.
And he went and grabbed his camera and he was like, dude, and he started asking me questions. Then he sent it to Wes. He was like, so what do you think? And so the voice started to come out.
Are we thankful for the words of Caesar?
I mean, I was going to ask you about like the physicality of the role, because obviously you just completely transform yourself. So hearing you do the voice just then, I was like, I forgot that there's a human being attached to the motion capture. I'm not watching an actual talking.
Someone was asking me about the effects that were done in my voice. They were saying it wasn't my voice. I was like, no, that was actually my voice. I was like,
incredible.
Yeah.
You completely, it just transports you so much to this world. But I was going to ask about the sort of training for the physicality, especially. Did you get to observe or sort of hang out with any apes to get into the character?
Watched a lot of documentaries, specifically on bonobos, and then I spent time at the zoo in Sydney. I would take the ferry out to this wonderful zoo and just watch them behave. But mostly it was from the observations that Alain had made, and just the tangibility of understanding the difference in their actual physical makeup. The way things are connected, the way bones are connected, the way that the density of muscle, they're so incredibly strong. Yeah. So they're so strong that when we relax, our hands are kind of like this. When they relax, they're like this, because there's just so much tension in their arms, their forearms. So it's just all of these things, they kind of help inform you. And then I studied the difference in the larynx and tried to imagine how the sound would come out. So that's why I kind of came out more forth. So it's kind of trying to figure out how to be eloquent within that. And it just all kind of came together.
Yeah. So your character, Proximus Caesar, I mean, what a performance as this like despotic, charismatic leader.
Thank you.
This is a franchise that does villains very well. Obviously we had Cobra in Dawn, then you had the Colonel in War. Yeah. Cobra genuinely, I think to this day, is one of my favorite villains ever. I mean, just terrifying. But these are complicated characters. I mean, Proximus isn't, strictly speaking, a villain, is he? I mean, what's at the core of this character?
Depends on your perspective. from my perspective, he wasn't a villain. He
No,
was
I'm completely on his side.
definitely a bit of a narcissist. But if he doesn't lead apedom into the future, then we may very well end up in cages and zoos again. Because once humans regain control, there won't be any space for us. Homo sapiens are a very dominant species, so so we want to make sure that they don't get back on top. So that was kind of his big argument, and that's why there was such a rush. It was pressing. It was like he had to go into all the villages and just he couldn't sit around and talk to them about it and sell them on it. There was no time for that.
Apes will learn. I will learn.
And he really admires humans, and he wants to be more human, doesn't he?
An intense, beautiful respect for them. He's studied Homo sapiens since the birth of Homo sapiens, studied their victories, studied their failures.
Yeah.
And he wants to do better, even though he's doing things by any means necessary, which people would say, well, you're kind of falling into the same trap. But he has a great fondness, but also a wariness.
A fondness more for the sort of empire building and the conquering.
Obsessed with the Roman Empire. Obsessed with the Roman Empire.
It's his Roman Empire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What a wonderful day!
Walking onto set for the first time, what was the first scene that you shot in this film, and how did you sort of get yourself into that character for the first time?
Well, actually, it was a day that I wasn't working. I showed up and Owen was working with Freya, and they cut a scene, and then all of a sudden I saw Owen notice me, but it wasn't. Then I realized it wasn't Owen, it was actually Noah. He was still in character, and he started moving towards me, and he was very curious, and he's looking at me through, like, there's this one truck, he was looking at me through the windows, and he would come closer and closer, and he was kind of like beckoning me. He was like, come on, and I'm sitting there going, I haven't done this ape stuff in front of other people, I don't know, and then he was like kind of putting his arm out to get my kind of respect, and then all of a sudden,
You need to listen to me. What is your name?
and then we just took off for 45 minutes doing all these improvs, and we would do these improvs every day, and a lot of that stuff ended up finding its way into the narrative, which is so wonderful to see it in the film.
The elders did not tell us everything about this world.
There's so much heart and emotion driving this film. I mean, I cried at multiple points. I'm not going to give away when. And I think a big part of that does come from the visual effects. It really conveys that emotion. You care so much about all of these characters. Was this your first time working with motion capture technology, and what was that experience like?
It was my first time working in this realm. It became the most fulfilling and freeing work that I've gotten to do, because I wasn't imprisoned by my own human vanity. I was another creature. And the thing that was amazing is that in watching the film, when I saw all the other apes and I saw their idiosyncratic behavior, all that emotionality you're talking about, they played all of that. I saw it all happen on the day, and somehow the people at Weta were able to convey it, and I saw the people in it. I really did, and it was just phenomenal that the artistry is at that level where they can actually really convey what was happening in the moment. Yeah. And so I'm just in awe of it. I hope I have more opportunities to live in this realm again.
Yeah. You are no stranger to playing villainous roles, right? Like, I'm thinking kind of Lost, Legion, to name a few. What is it that draws you to these kind of bad guys?
I think those roles are kind of drawn to me. I don't know. I have like one of those faces that people like to kill or love to hate. I don't know. Probably about 7 out of every 10 characters in my 30 years doing this are usually somehow considered villainous. I am always way more interested in characters that have layers, that I can really add as many layers of the onion as I can, and usually the ones that are considered bad, that are from that side of the narrative, you could always just play the big bad guy, but you could also just play the human who has to get something done in a certain amount of time, or else their life is on the line, or the lives of their family are on the line, or and then it can be conceived as being bad and villainous, but who's really the villain? It all depends on which perspective you're looking at it from, right? So luckily, when I play these characters, my friend came out to see it last night, and she was like, "You were so scary, but I really liked you, and I don't know why I liked you." And then I feel like I did my job.
Well, there's a charisma there, and I would follow Proximus, probably, if I had a choice.
Come with me. I will take you to the promised land. No, bend for your king.